going on, guys? Snake Eyes here playing some more Dark Souls 2, and in this video we're going to be doing a weapon showcase, and the weapon we're going to be showcasing today is the Murakumo. Now if you don't know how to get this weapon, all you have to do is buy it from Weaponsmith Ornifex. It's just as easy as that. Buy it for 5,800 souls and that's how you get this weapon. All in all, to be honest, this is something that I definitely recommend picking up if you haven't already, but we're going to go ahead and go into the details of this weapon. Its base damage is at 190, and since then I've actually upgraded mine to plus 10 and infused it with dark. So my base damage is at 266 with 266 dark damage as well. It has 110 counter strength. It does 45 poise damage per hit. It has 70 durability and it weighs 12 pounds. The requirements for this weapon is that you need 20 strength and 20 dexterity, and you get an E scaling in strength, a B scaling in dexterity, and a B scaling in dark when you infuse it with dark. There are a couple of pros and cons to this weapon. One of the cons that I guess I can only think of really is the weight to this weapon. It is a little on the heavy side, and for people who aren't used to that, this is definitely something you're going to have to adjust your equipment to. But other than that, that's really the only con that I can think of. There are a lot of pros, and this is actually a pretty satisfying weapon to use. Now, one of the major pros is the fact that it does some really good damage, and that's just something that kind of just comes with it. Depending on the armor that your opponent's wearing and how upgraded it is, you can kind of do anywhere really between 300 to 800 damage per hit, which in my opinion is not too bad, considering that I've taken other weapons out and fought people that were pretty up there in the level, and I was only really doing like 80 per hit. So to have a consistent at least going over a couple hundred is something that I really did like. One of the other pros that I kind of just stumbled upon and just really only found out because I was messing around with it too much was the jumping attack has some like really good tracking. Now I was just doing it just random times, but I was actually really surprised at how often and consistent I was landing the jumping attacks. Now I usually fool around and I don't really go for jumping attacks, and if I do, I don't really expect to land it, but every single time, or almost every single time I did a jumping attack with this weapon, I was actually really surprised at how the tracking just kind of just went towards the enemy. Now, like I said, that's really something that I wasn't used to. Another weapon has some pretty decent tracking, and I forgot which one that was, but it's kind of a showcase that's going to come up later on. But this is a definite weapon that you want to try for jumping attacks. In some of these fights, you can actually see my character pretty much turning mid-air just because the tracking is that good, and I haven't really seen it in any of the other weapons, and that's kind of something that really got me really satisfied. Another thing that I really liked, it's not really a pro, it's just kind of something that I really like doing, was that I really liked pancaking these guys. There's just something about it that is really satisfying about it, and it seems like every single time I did it, I just really felt like this weapon was just as powerful as I thought it was. Being able to flatten your enemies is something that's pretty cool, and then like I said, being that the jumping attack is actually really good, once they get up you can go ahead and try doing one of those and seeing if you can go ahead and hit them again. And all in all, there's really a lot of good things with this weapon. Surprisingly, it's not that that used. I was actually really surprised. I've only seen a couple people use it, and seeing the way that they use it was kind of disappointing because it just seemed like they wanted to land the real heavy attacks, the ones that if you land really pay off and do a lot of damage. But this weapon is actually good with its whole entire moveset. One of the things that I really liked was the two-handed running attack, but another thing that I also really liked was the one-handed R1s. The one-handed R1s are kind of a slower version of the falchion, where he goes from one side to the other, but it's something that is actually really good, and it's something that I really do like. The two-handed R1s are a little bit faster than the one-handed R1s, but all in all, if you really get used to the moveset that this weapon has, you can do a lot to the people that you actually fight. And like I said, it's kind of disappointing because the people that I normally fight that have this weapon only really take advantage of the hard-hitting moves, and while those are good, if you compare it to its standard attacks, I'll be honest, the standard attacks are better. And if you really think about it, it's better to go with the standard attacks because you have a better chance of hitting people, especially since not a lot of people are used to the regular attacks with this weapon. all in all, there's really not enough good things that I can say with this weapon. I actually really did enjoy it. I haven't seen a showcase on this weapon yet, which is, like I said, really surprising, because once you start training yourself to getting accustomed to this weapon, you're gonna see some massive results. And I was actually really surprised. This is actually one of my favorite weapons, and I normally don't like heavy hitting weapons. I'm more about going in and getting a couple hits and getting out, and still never really having to worry about stamina. But with this weapon, I was actually feeling pretty comfortable, and all in all, I recommend it for people who are not only used to the heavy hitting weapons, but who like to take full advantage of a weapon's entire moveset, because this is something that I guarantee you're going to be doing some work with, and you're going to see some results. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, take care.